For a chair, I chose this chair with a movable base and a back, and I have a pillow in there to help support my back because sometimes I have back pains. And for the tables, I chose to go with tables that are mostly adjustable, so I can move them up and also push them down depending on if I want to sit and work. So you can see that most of my tables are adjustable in terms of height, except the table that has the electronic measuring machines, which I needed to be stable, so I had to go with that choice. On my electronics table, I have Siglent oscilloscope and a Siglent function generator, mainly for generating signals for circuit boards and also steady signals that comes out of the circuit boards. And for this, I chose to go with the 4-channel oscillator because yes, there were 2 channels one, but I bought the 4 channels one not because I really need them currently, but you don't know what you'll be working on in the future that will demand that you have a 4-channel oscilloscope. So yes, it cost a bit more, but in the long term I thought it was a wise investment, so I chose to go with a 4-channel oscilloscope, and so far I like them. I also have a circuit specialist power supply that is capable of generating DC voltage up to 30 volts, and so that is enough for most of the things that I work on. I mean, I'm not into power electronics, so the maximum I mostly use is 12 volts when I'm working on powering brushless motors with ECRs, but I have never so far had a need to go to the limit, which is 30 volts. And I also have a Vela soldering workstation. So Vela is a very good soldering workstation. It's a German brand, and so far it is working very well. I also have a multimeter for measuring different quantities in electronic circuits, and I also have the solderless breadboard there, which I use to, I mean, you know what these things are used for, basically build electronic circuits before you actually transfer them onto a more permanent PCB. And the computer I use for electronics is the ASUS all-in-one computer, which runs Windows. And the reason I run Windows is because for most of the software that I need for electronics and programming microcontrollers, I think they are more available on Windows than they are on a Macintosh and also on a Linux computer. So electronics is the only reason why I have a Windows machine with me. And so on it I have tools like Multisim, I have KiCad for creating PCBs, and all the electronic tools that you can think of. And down here, over here, I have these compartments in which I store all my different electronic components. So if I open any compartment, I know how I have organized my components in each of the compartments, and so far it has also been a very useful thing to have in a maker's laboratory. So yes, this is it for my electronics session. So in this corner I have my 3D printing and laser engraving tools. The first one is the Ender 3 3D printer, which is very durable, it is very steady, and it comes almost completely assembled and it works perfectly out of the box. I have had this for more than a year, and I can trust that it's always going to work when I need it. The next machine I have here is the Snapmaker 3-in-1. So it's a 3-in-1 machine which can do 3D printing, it can do CNC carving, and it can also do laser engraving. And so with the laser engraving you can engrave text or images or any design that you have onto materials such as wood and any other material that it supports. And with the carving you can also make engravings of text or any designed material onto woods and aluminium, and also any material that it supports. And currently what I have fixed in there is the 3D printer head. So the last job I did was to print 3D print something that was designed, but you can see the other heads down there, the laser engraver and then the CNC carbon head. And I also have the goggles there to protect my eyes when I am doing anything that has to do with laser engraving or CNC carbon or milling. And down there you can see that I have the tools that I need to take off the printed material off the beds, and I also have some extra filaments down there. Of course, this table is going to change because it is short, but I had to go with it because it is the strongest table I have here. None of the adjustable tables were strong enough to hold these two machines. So this is the 3D printing and engraving corner of my lab. And on this table I have my robotics and drone materials. So as you can see, I have the EV3 or Mindstorm robotics education kit. And so this container right here contains all the pieces that forms the education kit of the EV3 Mindstorm package. And up here is one robot that has been assembled. It is basically just a mobile-based robot, and it has all the sensors attached to it. What I do with the EV3 is to first of all verify or play with new robotics algorithms that I learn. And the reason I went with the EV3 is because of how adjustable it is, how easy it is to form newer and different robot models with it instead of buying something that is fixed. So I'm able to find the assembly instructions of any robot that I want to build, and then I build them. I program the EV3 in Python, of course, and so I'm able to validate anything that I want to do on a more permanent robot like this one that I have here. So this is a robot that is powered by a Raspberry Pi. You can see the Raspberry Pi in there. It also has two motors. It has one motor controller, but it's able to control the two motors. I have this power bank on it, and I have this caster field here. So it is just a differential drive robot which is able to move around in some few directions basically. And so before I try any algorithm on a more permanent robot like the Raspberry Pi one that I showed you, I run it on the EV3 robot to validate that they work before I implement on the more permanent robot. And what I have here is a DJI Tello drone, which I got recently. And the reason I have this is because I'm going to start a series on my YouTube channel where I'm going to teach how to use reinforcement learning to build autonomy into drones, and I'll also teach you how to use computer vision to add more capabilities to this drone. And the good thing is that this drone can be programmed in Scratch and also in Python, but I don't like the drag and drop approach to programming, so I always go with the Python SDKs, and it is more flexible to build cooler stuff. So watch out for this space. I'm going to start the series very soon, and I'm going to teach everyone who is interested how to pick a Tello robot, a Tello drone, and add more functionalities to it using computer vision and reinforcement learning. And down there is a drone that I started working on. I haven't completed yet, but the idea is to build a drone from scratch, so I don't want to use any pre-made code. The idea is after I have completed this project, I should be able to know how to stabilize a drone and implement all the cool features that we see in ready-made drones like shown on the table, I mean the DJI Tello. And down here are what I call the power tools. In there I have a jigsaw for cutting woods, aluminium, and some other not so hard metals. I also have a drilling machine, so I can drill into woods and walls. I also have a complete set of spanners and pliers and different tools, hammers and everything in there. And this is why I call them the power tools, for doing the hard work. And these containers here also contain a lot of electronics components, and they are mostly there because they are too big, they can't fit into the compartment, and they are also things that I do not use on a daily basis. So I don't mind having to pull things down to look for them. But then everything I use most often are contained in the. And I'm sure this one needs no introduction. If you have already subscribed to my channel, you have seen this board number of times, and this is where all the magic happens. This is where all the teaching happens, and this is where I also have my own brainstorming. Like when I have an idea, this is where I validate it. If I have any mathematics to verify, this is where I do it, and this is where I also teach on YouTube when I have to explain things on a whiteboard. And so this is the super immersive AI workstation where I do most of my trainings, because in that corner is the GPU machine that has an NVIDIA RTX 2080 in it. It is a Core i7. It's actually an HP gaming machine that I bought because there's a GPU in there, and the workstation itself, or the chair itself, is an Imperator Works IWR1 gaming workstation, but of course I didn't buy it for gaming. So the functions are the adjustable foot pedal, and you also have a zero gravity sitting position. You also have the massage function in it, and on it I have mounted this 49-inch curved Samsung monitor, which is equivalent to having 3 27-inch monitors. And I like the experience of using one curved monitor because I don't have to switch content between monitors, and also trying to move things around is easier and more seamless on the machine. And I also love the aesthetics.